There's nothing quite like seeing timeless, iconic heroes grouped together for a common cause. Sometimes they're united in an organized, militaristic fashion, while other times they seem ragtag together in a makeshift manner simply to tackle a greater threat. While the Avengers have become an integral factor for what would become the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's always interesting to explore the collectability options that exist for those of us in the action figure hobby. And perhaps the peak of that experience is putting together a collection in the highly detailed 1/6 or 12-inch tall scale figures by the company Hot Toys. We'll take a look at how these Avengers assembled for the purpose of this particular collection. Let's begin. While the foundation of the Avengers was set all the way back in 1941 when Captain America made his way onto the pages of then-publisher Timely Comics, the Avengers wouldn't officially congregate as a group until 1963 under the now globally famous Marvel Comics publishing company. At times, the Avengers seemed to be at the forefront of the comic enthusiast consciousness. Other times, they'd play second fiddle when Marvel was pushing the X-Men or the Fantastic Four in popularity. By comparison, rival company DC Comics would throughout the decades find its Justice League as the front and center group of the pop culture superhero genre. Now, your own mileage may vary, but many people will find that the Marvel Cinematic Universe's presentation of the Avengers, beginning with the 2008 theatrical releases of Iron Man and The Incredible Hulk, would be what began the Avengers' push to the top of the superhero-themed franchises. As such, it only makes sense for longtime comic enthusiasts such as myself to put together a gorgeous Hot Toys representation of the initial team recruited by Nick Fury in the 2012 Avengers film, the apex of what the MCU has dubbed as Phase 1 of their multi-billion-dollar franchise. It's also a film that would see its 6 key heroes and Nick Fury himself continue to team up in movie appearances thereafter. And with character attire and appearances varying over the course of dozens of films within this continuity, I made a singular choice for collecting each of these characters in the Hot Toys brand and 1/6 scale. As this video progresses, you can tell me in the comments section whether you like the appearances that I chose to represent my definitive Avengers collection, or whether you have other specific movie appearances that you prefer over the ones that I present here. What we'll do is we'll start with the field leader himself, Captain America. Those of you with a keen eye will notice that I elected to go with his 2015 Avengers Age of Ultron appearance, as I think that the uniform encapsulates what Captain America would and probably should look like in a modern day setting. Now don't get me wrong, I do have some love for his other appearances, but I just felt that his 2012 Avengers initial movie attire in the spandex doesn't quite work as well in a modern setting compared to what was conventional in the golden, silver, and bronze age of comics. And I do like his 2011 Captain America First Avenger attire, but I feel that this Age of Ultron appearance takes that similar look and adds some more detail to it to make him stand out more as a front and center heroic face among this team. The slew of accessories, including swappable hands and a swappable head, are great for giving you display options for what's already a high-priced figure. I will point out that the shield does have some weight to it, and it neatly sticks to the back of his hand and forearm through a magnetic connection rather than more traditionally strapping it over his arm. Now, I suppose this makes for throwing the shield a little bit more efficient, not that I'm brave enough to scratch up a Hot Toys figure or accessory. Moving along, for Black Widow, I elected to go with her appearance from the 2012 Avengers film, and while she started out as a minor supporting character early on in the MCU, she definitely hit her stride with the main Avengers films, not to mention playing a key role in Captain America Winter Soldier, Civil War, and receiving her own feature film in 2021. The espionage and secretive nature of Natasha Romanoff has always made her something of a standout in the Marvel franchise overall, let alone in the cinematic universe. Like most of the other Hot Toys figures, she poses quite well and looks right at home, dual-wielding her two pistols. I know she's sported multiple looks over the years, but this era of Black Widow is the one that I think of when someone mentions her name. As for Thor Odin's son, the Asgardian god of thunder, I have owned multiple versions over the years, and the version from the initial Avengers movie was my first Thor in my collection, and it was a great figure, but I realized that the Thor that I have come to know and love would be one of the sleeveless look. That's just a personal choice though, and I know he sports both the sleeveless and sleeved look across the multiple comic runs, my favorites of course being that of Walt Simonson's classic comic run as well as J. Michael Straczynski's run during the 2000s. And do note that this is the version of Thor that was released with the Dark World film, and this figure has also been released in both armored arm versions as well as the sleeveless one that I've shown here. The bearded look has become something of a staple in the look that Chris Hemsworth portrays, and I know that some people would prefer the silver-plated chest rather than the gold-plated look on this figure, but that part doesn't bother me as much. Of course, there's nothing like seeing Thor wield his hammer and Mjolnir in what I consider a quintessential version of him on my shelf. All in all, he looks ready to take on the likes of Loki or other rivals like the God Butcher anytime. As for Hawkeye, I did initially want his Avengers appearance as shown back in the 2012 film, but the price of that particular figure skyrocketed past the point that I was comfortable paying at that period in time. However, they did release a version of him for his Age of Ultron appearance, and man, he comes with quite a bit. Tons of extra arrows, additional arrowheads, well, just look over here. You name it, he's got it. Just like how the Captain America from the Age of Ultron appearance captures a great likeness of Chris Evans, I just love how this Hawkeye figure captures the look of Jeremy Renner. A bit of an underrated Avengers character overall, his friendship with characters such as Black Widow became something memorable in a fast-paced, event-heavy series of Marvel movies. In any case, he's absolutely essential for completing any Avengers collection. Now moving along, what would an Avengers collection be without the witty, charismatic, and technologically savvy Tony Stark? I opted for Iron Man in his Mark 7 armor, at least when I choose to display him with the rest of this particular cast. Yes, I have other versions of Iron Man as outlined in a previous Hot Toys Hall of Armor feature video that I did back in 2021. Having said that, Mark 7 was the armor that he wore during the big battle of New York at the end of the 2012 Avengers film, which is why I remember it so fondly. The alternate head looks absolutely stellar, as it is with basically any Hot Toys likeness of a Hollywood actor. Like some of the other figures shown here, the alternate accessories are plentiful, ranging from other ways to pose his hands like he's about to blast something, to battle-damaged armor, and so much more. Yes, he'll be known for the endless amounts of armor he's worn over the years, and many people find his standalone films to be the most memorable among the MCU's overall franchise. Nevertheless, the classic red and gold look just never gets old, and Robert Downey Jr.'s magnetic screen presence is borderline unmatchable in Hollywood. And of course, who could ever forget?
I have an army. We have a Hulk.
And look, I have a Hulk too. Now, like with other versions of my Avengers characters as shown in this video, I opted for an Avengers 2012 movie appearance for everyone's favorite angry, green, inhumanly strong giant. Though to be fair, it's not like his clothing attires very much between most movie appearances. This is a situation where a toy didn't come with much in the way of extra accessories, not that he needed them, and it really is a case where less is more. With the Hulk being an absolute staple of pop culture, having a figure of him truly just comes down to shelf presence and the menacing look on his face. As many of you know, he's masterfully portrayed by Mark Ruffalo in most movies in the MCU, as well as an initial film to kick off this particular franchise played by Edward Norton. Simply put, there are few things more amazing in life than seeing not only a group of iconic timeless superheroes congregate together, but also seeing the muscle of the team in the Hulk towering over them. And tower it does, standing at just under 18 inches tall when extended to his full height. But of course, for me, as cool as it is to own these higher end versions of the Avengers, I personally had to go one step further than just getting the original team of 6, and I opted for adding Nick Fury. Perhaps it was just an excuse for me to own a figure of Samuel L. Jackson, or maybe because I really liked this version of him because it's similar to his appearance in Mark Millar's Ultimates comics from the 2002 Ultimate Marvel comic run, which actually even predates the MCU. This figure even comes with the rocket launcher that he used in the 2012 film, and the lifelike leather coat just does a lot to capture the absolute look and essence of the character, though much of the same can be said for pretty much any Hot Toys figure featuring soft goods clothing. Yes, I'm aware that Nick Fury will primarily be calling the shots away from the battlefield, but knowing he isn't afraid to get his hands dirty is part of the appeal of the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. So as great as it is to display the 6 Avengers together, there's just something that stands out about seeing Nick Fury amongst them. And I know that the Avengers roster can expand well beyond what I've shown in this video, but for me, I have what I need, at least for now, in terms of featuring the initial core cast amongst a larger toy collection. The amount of photography that can be done with Hot Toys figures is just endless, and the display presence on any toy shelf just catches your eye. Also, do note that most Hot Toys figures do also come with figure stands, and the design of these stands can vary between releases. Overall, this assembly really is my own personal, perpetual, collectible tribute to the characters that have played such a big part of my entertainment life. And when I look at these figures, I don't just think of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but as you can tell from this video, I also think of other forms of media, such as comics that I've inundated myself in over the decades. You've already heard me mention certain comic runs like the Thor publications I mentioned earlier, as well as the Ultimate Universe, but other comic runs I've been fond of consist of extended series such as Ed Brubaker's run on Captain America that reintroduced Bucky as the Winter Soldier during the 2000s. There's also Matt Fraction's run on Iron Man that began in 2008, which ran for several years, and there's also multiple runs on the Hulk, such as my favorite being called Hulk Grey, which was done by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, a team that would also previously author and illustrate some of my favorite Batman comic runs. The Avengers are every bit as iconic, memorable, and fascinating to me as other teams like the X-Men and Justice League, and their rise to the peak levels of fame during the first few phases of the MCU's movie series have resulted in not just longtime fans seeing their heroes in epic big screen battles, but also ushering in a new generation of fans and collectors. I know we often cling to our franchises of the 1980s and earlier, hoping that they live on another decade so that we may pass on the love and knowledge to newer, younger fans, and we also keep hoping that these franchises don't die off and age out with us. Now, when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Marvel in general, we certainly don't have to worry about that since the MCU has done so much already to pass on the franchise and love to newer, younger generations. What I'm saying is that the Avengers are as new and fresh to kids as they are to us middle-aged adults, and as revitalizing today as they were decades ago when the people before our time idolized them in their earlier comic forms. In general, there's not much I can say to do justice to what impact these characters have had in the lives of not just myself, but my fellow fans and collectors as well. Pun intended, you simply marvel at these toys and think about your favorite memories of them. So perhaps that can be my call to action for those of you watching this video. Do you have a favorite memory of one or more of these heroes, be it in the MCU film series itself or on the pages of Marvel Comics? Let me know in the comment section below. Once again, special thanks to the Patreon supporters and channel members for their ongoing support of the Toy Connections YouTube channel. You can find their names in the description below, along with links to join the Toy Connections Patreon and channel membership. And if you enjoyed this video, please check out some of my other content, including other superhero-related videos here. Subscribe if you already haven't, press that like button to spread this video to more viewers, and share it with your friends. And with that, I'll see you again soon with some more of my favorite toys. Thanks again, and take care.